Happy Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome back to Doodling with Purpose, the internet's only free, totally free lessons on learning ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and, fun hieroglyphic Egypt jokes to kick it off. All right, today we are going to continue our exploration of the H, and by the H I mean the bilateral H. So we're going to be looking at a hun sound, H in the back of the throat, followed by N. All right, so how do we start this little funky image here? We have a curved line with two curved lines up, and then we're going to draw some arms coming out of it, because what we're drawing here for the letter hun is two arms rowing. So after you've drawn your little, what I kind of think of as a hat, like a pointed hat, with maybe kind of like a sombrero, although they didn't wear sombreros in ancient Egypt, I checked. All right, then we're going to have the oar going straight down, and you know how to draw an oar, because an oar is also a trilateral sound, haru. So we're just going to have the arms holding a haru, an oar. So here we have the arms rowing, hun. Now this is, once again, can be used as an ideogram to just mean to row, or it can be a determinative, or the letter hun. See how just useful, so many different ways these can be used. All right, and again, because we've got the H with the dash under it, it's that back of the throat H, the hu. So hu, hun, hun. All right, so here's a word using hun. We have hun followed by the water sign, followed by a loaf, and what's that sign at the end that you don't recognize? Well, if it's at the end and you don't recognize it, it's a determinative. See, hieroglyphics is not as tricky as you think. There are a lot of hints. That's what we've been talking about. All right, so that is a picture of a boat with a oar coming out the back, as opposed to the hands with the oar. So you have hun, n, and t, which would be hunnent with the determinative, but of course you recognize that we have a double consonant in the middle, one that's hanging off the end of hun, and one that's just n, the water sign. And as we've talked about, when you have a single sound butted up against the ending of a double sound, that's what I call an echo reflection, and you can X out, you don't need to say that letter, that sound a second time. So it just becomes hun. Let's look at how this verb for to travel can tense, or can go in different verb tenses. Now it ends in a T, this verb for meaning travel. And verbs that end in T are already in the feminine form, but that also is the infinitive. So any verb that ends in a T already is in an infinitive form. So traveling, ing, and here I've written in the determinative just to make it look similar to as we did the transliteration. All right, so ending in a T, that's your hint that you're in the infinitive form. If you wanted to put this into the past tense, well, after the determinative, you'll put your ed, your like traveled, which is the water sign, and then who did the traveling? In this case, I'm using the pronoun for he, which is the snake, the viper snake with the horns, which is also F. So this becomes hun, here, hunt, n equals F for he traveled. And then if we're going to go in the past tense, then we're dealing with, well, I'm sorry, that's the past tense. I'm getting ahead of myself. The participle at the bottom there is making it, instead of a verb, a noun, one who travels. And to do that, we're going to double that last consonant sound. So in this case, the T. So that double T is your hint, just as the N is your hint and the single T. So all right, let's look at a similar word. So here we have hun, and there's no T. So we just have the HN and followed by the N and the same determinative. So this word, again, with the N butting up against the N in the middle of the word, we don't need to pronounce the second N. It's another echo effect, but it's there because the Egyptians wanted their language and their words to look beautiful and fill up the proper amount of space on a wall. So that's why often extra letters are added, and as a reminder of what that bilateral sound is, because, it's a lot of memorization. They like to have reminders. So this can just be pronounced hun, hun, again, like hue in the back of the throat, hun. Again, I know, Egypt had sounds that we don't really have in modern English. So this is the verb to row, different from the verb to travel. Travel had that T. So I want to look at how both of these verbs, spelled very similar, will make that transition into the different verb forms that we've covered in the past. So traveling, as we said, ending in a T, is already in the infinitive form. It's a feminine verb, and the T tells you not only that it's feminine, but that we are in the infinitive verb form, the ing form, and that's how it ends. Now, if we're going to change to travel into traveling with the T, that's going to keep us in the infinitive. If we wanted to just say, for example, with the verb to row, which it doesn't have a T in it, but we want to put it in the infinitive form and we need to have a T, well, we just add that T after the determinative, because while the verb traveling has a T in it already to indicate this, the verb to row does not have a T. So the T gets added to turn it into the infinitive form, and the T is added after the determinative here. So now you can see two different verbs that are spelled very similar, but have different meaning, traveling and rowing. So by having the T, it changes to row to rowing. Then if we were going to move this into the past tense, so again, I have to row, there's no T in it, and then we add the ed, the N for road, and then a pronoun. In this case, I'm using the bolt of cloth, S, which is for she. So this becomes she rode. The N at the end, adding the ed to the verb, row becomes rode, and then the bolt of cloth, or the previous example used the horned viper for he. Doesn't matter which pronoun you use, I just like to, change them up. So here we have the past tense. So you could see the T at the end for the infinitive, and then the N to give you that hint of what verb form you're in. So if we were going to then go into the subjunctive and be able to say one who travels and actually turn it into a noun, well, for one who travels, because you have a T, you'll double the T. Because Rose doesn't have that, the last letter is the N, so we're going to double the N, and that is why you also have the double consonant. I hope that helped, because, it's tricky to get a hold of this stuff and understand, especially when you've got words that are spelled similar. If you need any clarification on what we went over today, let me know in the comments. We'll be back next week, and we'll wrap up the H's and keep going through our bilaterals, and we'll the whole time review other things like verb structures. Hope you're enjoying, and thanks for watching.